Happy Monday, friends! Let's talk about depression. This might seem like a strange topic for a sewing channel, and if it's not something you want to hear about, please feel free to skip it and watch the next sewing video. But I've had some things on my heart that I wanted to share with you, thinking that maybe you could identify with them and maybe we can help encourage each other. I just washed my hair, so that's why it's wet. I follow the Yorkshire Sew Girl here on YouTube, Ruanne, the lovely Ruanne, and I always look forward to her videos. And I noticed she had been gone for several weeks, and she just posted an update saying that she had been struggling with, I don't want to label her feelings as depression, but she had been struggling with a lack of motivation, maybe some feelings of discouragement, that kind of thing. And one thing that she said really struck me in particular, and that was that she feels that she always presents herself as someone who's really cheerful and upbeat. And because she was not able to present in that way, because of the way she was feeling, she had felt reluctant to film a video. And that got me thinking about a lot of things that I wanted to share with you in hopes that it might give you some encouragement. It might make you feel a little better about such periods of melancholy in your own life, because I know I definitely experience those. Now, I am a university professor. I'm a PhD. I'm not a medical doctor. So my work is in human communication. I am a social scientist, not a medical one. So most of what I know is from my personal experience with issues of depression and with talking to students and things like that. A few years ago, I was really struggling with finishing my dissertation. I was just stuck and couldn't get unstuck. My mother was also very ill. She has since passed away. There were a lot of changes going on in my life, and I was having trouble coping, and I just felt stuck. I felt frozen in space, and like I couldn't get past it. I couldn't. I thought if I could just make one step in the right direction, maybe that would give me some momentum, but I was just stuck. I was stuck. And I've had this problem throughout my life. I always put it down to things like procrastination, but getting stuck like that and not being able to get unstuck. I finally went to the counseling center at my university and talked to someone there, and this person I talked to was a medical doctor, and he recommended a couple of things. He recommended a mild antidepressant for me, and he recommended therapy. So I started going to these therapy counseling sessions one-on-one. I started journaling so that I could identify some of the patterns in my behavior and in my thought processes so that I could see what triggered these feelings and when they happened. And I found out that for me, a lot of the problem is feeling isolated. I am an introverted extrovert. I like my time alone, but I do need a certain amount of human interaction in order to keep my spirits up. And, we've just been through summer. Classes at the university are starting later this week, and I'm so glad we're getting back to classes because I've been working from home all summer and I've been feeling kind of isolated too. And I that brings on the melancholy, and I know it does. So now when I start feeling the melancholy, and I've been journaling, and I know that I've been feeling isolated, I can try to take a step to break that, even if it's just phoning somebody or going out of town to see somebody. So the counseling helped me identify what the depression triggers were. The medication was something I was reluctant to start with. And I think many of us are, because, and this is the main point I was hoping to share with you, our culture treats these kind of things as a character flaw, right? If we're not ambitious all the time, and we're not busy all the time, and we're not cheerful all the time, we've had it ingrained in us that that's a character flaw, and that you got to get past it, you got to push past it, you got to be better, right? You got to try harder. That is indoctrinated into us through our culture, through things our parents and community tell us, through things that our society tells us. One of the courses I teach is intercultural communication, and we spend a lot of time talking about American culture and the values of American culture, and the effect those have on us. And the values of American culture are very much masculine values. Now, I mean that in a particular way. Masculine values are things like ambition, competitiveness, success, competition, things like that. It doesn't have anything to do with being male or female. It's just a group of ideas that are labeled masculine. And I think we, especially those of us who grow up in households where achievement is encouraged, we ingrain those values. And then if we need help, if we're feeling weak, if we're feeling vulnerable, if we are feeling melancholy, if we're not able to perform at our best, we feel like that's a character flaw and that we should be able to get past it. And this wonderful doctor, bless him, I'm so glad I went to him, he explained to me that we're taught to think it's a character flaw, but it's also, or it's primarily, it's body chemistry. It's hormones that are being released. It is the way our brains are wired up. And taking medication for some of us can help to balance that, can help to correct for that a little bit. I ran into this with a student of mine a few years ago who, his doctor had prescribed an antidepressant for him, and he didn't want to take it. And he was really struggling, but he kept saying, it's a weakness. If I need medication, it's a weakness. If I need counseling, it's a weakness. He really had that mindset. And sharing with him that I have the same kind of struggles, but here's what's worked for me, it seemed to get him over that hump of seeking help. The way the doctor explained it to me is that things like isolation, for me, okay, remember a moment ago I said that isolation can trigger feelings of melancholy in me. When I identify that, then I can watch out for it, and I can be more aware of what's causing the melancholy and not just sit there and kind of wallow in it. And when I'm feeling that melancholy, that actually does trigger. If you're curious about all of this stuff, look up the gland in your brain called the amygdala, AMYGDALA, amygdala. This is the center of our fear responses, of our fight or flight responses. This is the area of our brain that reacts negatively to things, and it actually excretes a hormone when we have that negative reaction. So some of the moods and emotions we struggle with are triggered by or complicated by the actual physical reactions our body has to them. Okay, this is why I talk to my students about, for example, using profanity or using bad language. And it's fascinating how every culture has different words that are considered a swear, right? The same words in British English are not considered a swear in American English and vice versa. And all over the world, in different tongues, they say things differently. But we are conditioned by our culture to react negatively to certain words, that they're bad. And when we hear those words, there's an actual chemical thing that happens in our brain. So, I tell my students, if grandma hates it when you drop F-bombs, there's a reason for that. They're actually upsetting her. They're causing a chemical reaction to flood her body that triggers a negative response. So in the same way, anxiety and depression have many causes and many effects. And part of that cause and effect can be actual chemical changes in our body. And I share this because I'd like to try to alleviate the shame of feeling depressed or melancholy or having the blues or whatever it is. You might remember a few years back, Tom Cruise appeared on, I believe it was the Today Show, saying a lot of negative things about Brooke Shields, who had been experiencing postpartum depression. And he was saying he doesn't believe there's any such thing as postpartum depression and she should just take vitamins and exercise and things like that. And it was a big scandal at the time. But I think about that incident and I think about how there are actual chemical things going on in a person's body that need to be managed. And depression can be both the cause and effect of those feelings. And some of it can be chemical in your body. And the chemical part may be able to be corrected for through medication. Your mileage may vary. You may not feel it's right to take medication or to seek therapy, but if you're struggling with this and if you're feeling like it's your fault, I just want to emphasize that it's not a character flaw. It's not that you're not strong enough. It's not that you're not smart enough. It's not that you're not resourceful enough to just power through and overcome. If you're really feeling stuck and you're really feeling trapped in these emotions of melancholy, there is help available in various forms, and it can be really useful. If you're a university student especially, a lot of times the University Health Center will have free counseling services, and it's really hard to go and say, I need help. I don't know what's wrong with me, but I'm stuck, I'm unmotivated, I'm melancholy, whatever it might be. It's really hard to do. Perhaps you can get a friend to go with you. And I tell friends and I tell students, if you want me to go with you, I'll go with you. If that's what's going to get you over the hump, I'll go with you. But there are professionals who are trained and who have spent their lives learning how to help the rest of us get over these periods of time. So getting past the reluctance to seek that kind of help is hard, but it might help you to consider these cultural norms that are causing us to believe it's a weakness, right? Our cultural norms tell us that we should always be strong and happy and outgoing and intelligent and eager and competitive and prosperous and seeking success. And if we're not all of those things all of the time, that there's something wrong with us. A sociologist named Goffman talks about something called the dramaturgical perspective, which is basically the idea that life is a performance and we're all performing the self all the time, right? And this makes a lot of sense. He talks about the front stage self and the backstage self. And if you've ever done any theater or anything like that, you know exactly what I'm talking about here. The front stage self is the persona we perform for the world. The backstage self is the uglier stuff, the junk and the dust and the dirt and the abandoned props that are backstage that we don't share with a whole lot of people, right? And the point of all this is that we curate our public image, and we all do it, right? We perform our front stage self for most people. We curate, think about how on social media we curate our performance. I mean, today I'm here with wet hair and no makeup, but oftentimes before I make a video, I'll make sure that I look nice. On our social media accounts like Facebook or what have you, we usually, if we're going to post a selfie, we usually try to post a flattering one. We might untag ourselves in unflattering pictures, and just think of how we curate our public presentation. And if part of your presentation is someone who is always outgoing and happy, it can be very hard to show a side of yourself that is not outgoing and happy, because that's the backstage stuff, right? We feel like the world has an expectation of us to maintain that curated image. So I share this in hopes it might help you get over the hump, to think about that curated image, to think about how we are influenced by these cultural norms that tell us how we're supposed to be, and why that makes us feel vulnerable and less than and weak, to say, I just can't do it right now. I just can't live up to that right now. And I could use some help. It's really hard. But a good start might be self-reflection and maybe even some journaling to see what your triggers are. Like I said, for me, I know that one of my triggers is isolation. If I spend too much time alone, I get melancholy. I need to interact with other people. And for you, it might be a need to be alone or need to interact with others. It might be a need to be around animals. It might be a need to visit old friends. But there might be certain areas in your life where if you lack a certain thing, it triggers feelings of melancholy. And as I say, journaling can be one way to discover those patterns. It can be useful to discover those patterns. And if you are reluctant to seek help, please reflect on this idea of, is it the weight of these cultural expectations that are causing you to be reluctant? And if you can break through that, if you can get a friend to help you break through it, maybe you can make better sense of the weight of those cultural expectations. I wanted to share that with you today, just in case you needed a lift, as I sometimes do. Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll come back for my next sewing video. Take care, everyone. Bye.